You know, these halls have seen an awful lot of folks pass through them over the years. Seems like only yesterday we heard this.
Join us as we celebrate the 10th anniversary of Talk on your talk station, WAVI.
WAVI listeners are being bombarded with this 10-year anniversary hoopla all this week, and for good reason. WAVI took a big chance switching from music to an all-talk format back in 1971. So far, it's paid off. Yesterday was the exact day for the 10th anniversary, but today it was champagne and cake as station officials looked back on the big experiment.
We went into country for about 13 months, and we were in this very warm bed for no longer than 13 months until our very worthy adversary, WO&E, went full-time with country. And so we decided we would like to add to the diversification of programming. We went around the country and investigated other formats and came up with All Talk.
Actually, we were the first to ever have talk radio, and it was back in 1958 when a person with the name of John Frame initiated it here by doing an hour a week on Saturdays called Point of View.
Never knew whether we'd make it for the full 10 years, thinking back to 1971, but it's been a pleasure. I hope we go many, many more years. It's been a lot of fun.
Then it was time to cut the cake, and afterwards back to business, but with a flair.
Who's first?
Well, there may have been some skepticism at first, but after 10 years, it looks like WAVI's talk radio is here to stay. Al Waters reporting for the TV2 Newsroom.
And our congratulations to all the folks over there at People Power Radio, WAVI.
Earlier this year, I assumed a rather dirty position. It was a dirty job. Somebody had to do it. I became Mike Scinto, rumor control. Joe, what do you need?
Mike, you gotta tell me. You must have people at the airport.
No, look, Joe, I can't find out everything.
You know, have the story.
Joe,
I am as close to Mr. Crowl as anybody in this town. But you must have a baggage man out at that airport who tells you when somebody comes to town from Washington.
Joe, I can't know everything. You know, it's going to take time. I've got connections. I've got connections all over the country, but I just can't. I'll tell you as soon as I find out.
I figured out what you've done. You put a tap on his home phone. And, Mike, you shouldn't do that. Because if you have a tap on his home phone, that's illegal.
Only two of us know it. Don't worry about it. Two of us know it. You going to tell anybody? I'm not going to tell anybody.
All I want to know is what the story is.
You'll be the first to know, okay? I've got things to do.
Well, let's get the sequence.
Yeah.
It'll be you, Crowl, and me. Is that the order?
No, no, no. I'll tell you before I tell him.
Oh, you'll tell him. You'll tell me before you tell Crowl.
That's right.
His property's been sold?
That's right.
You got it.
That's exactly right.
Art, look. We promised you we'd get you in the film later. Please, will you wait? We've got other things to take care of. Just wait a couple of minutes, okay? Please. We talked to John Berry, the chairman of the board and chief executive officer of L.M. Berry and Company in Dayton.
How are you, Bud? I'm sorry I can't be with you tonight to help you bring in the Christmas season, but I know that you would want me to do what I'm doing, and that is I'll be over at Marine Country Club having some drinks, and of course I'll sign your name to the tab, which you always like me to do, and then I'm taking a group of people over at the Bears for dinner, and I'll have them send you the bill, as I know you would want to pick up the bill. Now, I'm supposed to say a number of nice things to you on this occasion, and I didn't really, I thought, and I couldn't think of anything really nice to say, and particularly to say in a mixed company. But then I thought, well, it's the Christmas season, and I was thinking of you this week because I did happen to get 2 telephone calls that brought your name to my attention. One of them I expected. One of them came out of the blue, so to speak. But the first one was from an old friend, in fact, a mutual friend of ours, and she always calls me about this time of the year, Christmas time, to wish me a Merry Christmas. Her first name's Connie. You remember her, and in the course of our conversation, why, Connie naturally asked how Budsy was, and I told her that you were getting along, you'd decided to sell your station and everything, and she says, oh, is he getting a little more elderly or senile? And I said, no, just about the same as he's always been, and he isn't so old. After all, it'll be another year or two before he's in his 80s, but, you know, he does move a little slowly. But so then she said, you know, thinking about Bud, is he still as cheap as he always was? And I said, well, what do you mean? And she said, well, you know, he used to tell me that I was an all-American girl, and representing girls and everything, the way to have a good time is that each person should share in their enjoyment, and he used to let me share with him. He used to take me to the movies on a date and everything, and he paid for the tickets, and I bought all the popcorn and Cracker Jack and soft drinks, and that was his way of sharing. And I said, well, he still does the same thing, except that you pay for everything now, and he doesn't share in anything. I'll bring this up to him. But she wanted to wish you a Merry Christmas. And the second call I had was, well, it called me the governor. And Jim talked on, and he said, what do you think about my running 2 years from now? And I said, well, I haven't thought much about it, Jim. And he said, well, what do you personally think about it? And I said, well, Jim, you know, I've always been sort of a middle-of-the-roader, and if you decide to run, why, you know, that'd be all right with me. Well, he said, what I really wondered was, he said, is that fellow Crowl still around? And I said, yeah, he's still around. And he said, well, what does he think about my running? And I said, Jim, he thinks it'd be the demise of the Ohio Republican Party. He thinks you're off center stage, you shouldn't get back on it. And so Jim says, he said that? And I said, well, I haven't talked to him, but that's what he thinks. He says, by God, that makes up my mind. If he thinks that, I'm going to run, I can win if he thinks that. So, Bud, he really treasures your ideas and values your friendship. In fact, he wondered if you would come up to Columbus and be with him whenever he holds the press conference to announce that he's going to run again. Bud, I'm tickled to death to be here with your friends, to say all these nice things about you. Just keep doing what you're doing. If you can get up off the floor now, why, have another drink on me. Merry Christmas.